Hello, coaching types, and welcome to another edition of One Way Conversation, a show where I talk to myself for roughly 10 minutes. Back from Dallas and relaxed, and so let's get on with another show. Beard is looking fresh today. Yeah, I got a nice little shape to it today. Yeah. So what I want to talk about today is this right here, asking me about the methodology and the training, or if it's basically just years and years of experience. And to the answer of all of that is yes. So probably not exactly what you wanted to hear. But today I'm going to share kind of our development methodology with you, the training methodology that we use. We use a variety of sources that I've pulled from over the years and kind of merged different things. So there's a little technical, there's a little TOVO, there's a little phase of play. So I've pulled a variety of things, a variety of methodologies, and kind of just blended them together into what I feel like, me personally, is getting the best results for what we're looking to do as a club, right? So every club has its own different belief system or its own different development plans and methodologies. And, while a lot of them say, we value, individual player development first and those kinds of things. And I believe that most do have that as a goal. What part of player development are they talking about, right? So there are parts of that have limitations, right? Kids have limitations, mostly physically, because at the youngest age groups, they haven't hit puberty yet. Their coordination, their dexterity, all of these things, their agility, it's going to be limited. So the kids that develop faster physically at the youngest age groups will typically have an advantage in any athletic endeavor. So what we focus on is the mental aspect of player development. The mental aspects, I don't think kids have limitations mentally. I mean, I have an 8-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old son. My daughter is 8. She can tell you how many planets there are. She can tell you the different levels of crust in the earth and what tectonic plate movement is. And she can name a zillion dinosaurs and how far away from the earth the moon is. There's little to no limitations mentally. You just have to be able, as a coach, to figure out how to get the information that you want into their brain to them. That's the trick, right? That's the hard part of the job, is knowing how to get it from your brain, translating it into little kid, and getting it into their brain. And so maybe I'm successful at that because I have the brain of a 5-year-old. Who knows? For me is to get every player as knowledgeable about the game itself as we can get. And they can do, my philosophy is they can continue to work on their technical abilities at home on their own. They don't need me working on that. They can dribble around cones for free in the backyard. They don't need me teaching that. So that's just our club's philosophy. There are other clubs who disagree with me, and that's cool. I'm not saying my way is right. I'm saying when I do these videos and when I'm putting the information out there that what we do, I'm not saying that that's right. I'm saying that's our way. These are the results we're getting from that way. So if you disagree, you're free to disagree. I don't care. So what I'm going to put up here now is our methodology. I'm going to flash it up here for you guys for a few minutes, and I'm going to talk about it. You can take a screenshot of it if you want. Nothing we do is a secret. It's not proprietary. Did I get that right? I don't know. What I'm saying is nothing we do is a secret. It's out there. Everybody knows it. I think that what is more special is how we do it, how we teach it, how we come across and get it from our brain into the little kid's brain. I think that we have special people that work for us, and I've my primary job is to coach the coaches from U10 and younger, and so I spend time trying to work with them on how to make that happen, how to get the information from our coaches' minds into the minds of the little ones. So here, let's take a look at it. So this is our Rising Stars and Academy training methodology. And I'll start from the top all the way up here. And you can see these are the age groups. And actually, Rising Stars, I need to update this because Rising Stars goes all the way to age 9 now. We stop it at U9, at U10 at this point. We go to U9. Pre-Academy also goes to U9. So I need to make some adjustments on this. It's been a little while. But we typically bring players in at age 4. And you can see our programs. We have the Rising Stars, the Pre-Academy, and the Academy program for kids at this age level. And another adjustment I need to make, Academy actually goes down to 7 now. Now the difference in the programs is the competitive level of each program and the number of training. So for Rising Stars, first of all of the programs play pretty much year-round. Rising Stars has a little bit longer break in the summer and in the winter than the Pre-Academy and Academy programs. But for the most part, they're all 3 programs are year-round. The Rising Stars program is 1 practice a week on a Friday, and then a game, what I call a game-like training. It's a game to the kids and the parents. There's no, we're not doing any positional play or rondos or anything like that. They show up in uniform. We divide them into 2 teams, and they compete against each other. But the coaches are on the field and directing the game itself, working with the players, teaching them about things like shape and decision making and what each position is and how to play the game. So that's what the Rising Stars program is, and it's typically practices will start. For instance, we have the summer/fall season coming up. Practices start in July, mid-July. Games start in late August. The season will end right before Thanksgiving. So to give you an idea of how long that is. Pre-Academy runs concurrent with Rising Stars, only now they are actual teams, right? We've built a team and they have an assigned coach. Whereas Rising Stars they have club coaches, but they could have a different coach each week, right? Pre-Academy, they've now been sorted into a team. They have a designated assigned coach to them who's going to be their coach for the whole season, and they're doing 2 trainings a week. So that's the Pre-Academy program. The Academy program, and in Pre-Academy, they play games against each other still, right? It's an in-house game where we can continue to work with the players positionally, shape, decision-making, those kinds of things. The Academy program is basically fully competitive. We play against other clubs. You have an assigned coach. You got a couple of practices a week. But the games are either on Saturdays or Sundays, depending on whether it's 5v5 or 7v7. And we're playing against other clubs from around the city in a variety of leagues. So Houston has a bunch of leagues, and we participate in the Small-Sided Development League, the SSDL, which is a 5v5 league that actually goes all the way to U10. So some teams could stay in that 5v5 all the way to U10, believe it or not. There are other teams that come out at U8 and go to 7v7. It just depends on the current development level of the group we're working on. So, for example, I have this coming season, 26 teams are moving to U8. And my first team, 2016 group, will play 7v7 in the top U9 bracket. So, because they're ready to make that leap. On another hand, we have 2014 teams that will be playing 5v5 against other 2014 teams in the small-sided development league. So it just depends on the level of the group or the level of the team. And you can see here the description of the programs as we scroll down. The Rising Stars program gets 38 to 40 trainings a year, 18 to 20 games per year. They don't play in any tournaments. The development focus is basically building a player's confidence and comfort on the ball. That's why one of the practices is nothing but ball mastery from Korver, right? Korver ball mastery, one player, one ball type thing. And then the personal focus is fostering love for the ball and the game, working with the parents on creating a culture in the home. For the pre-academy program, you can see trainings per year. We're up to about 75 to 80 trainings a year because they are now training twice a week instead of once a week. League games, still you're at 18 to 20, but they may get in a couple of tournaments. So we do a couple of tournaments. This is where we introduce them to cognitive player development. We start introducing positional play, TOVO type stuff. The technical training gets a little bit, the technical demands become a little bit more complex, right? And you start talking about receiving across the body on the back foot. Scanning becomes a much bigger focus for the players to help them become better decision makers. And we're pushing the training at home too, at a little bit more at a greater rate. We want them training more at home and learning to love the ball outside of the game, taking ownership of some of their own development. At the academy program, we're full on. We're going, right? It's full on everything. 90 plus trainings a year. They're going to practice 90 plus times a year just with the club, right? And they also need to be training, if they're going to compete at this level, outside of us somehow. A lot of our players will play futsal outside of us. Almost all of them have some kind of training regimen at home in the backyard. They're still playing around 20 league games a year. The leagues don't change that. The big difference is now they're playing a bunch of tournaments a year. My first groups play anywhere between 8 to 10 tournaments a year. And so they're getting another almost 40 or so games a year just from tournaments. So on top of the 20 league games, so they're playing about 60 games a year, right? And at this level, that's over one a week because there's only 52 weeks in a year, right? So they're playing 60 games a year. We're training 90 plus times a year. That's even at U8, U9, U10. They're getting a lot of training in, and they're doing stuff outside of the club, like I said, like futsal, like training on their own. So there's a lot going on there. The development focus becomes highly cognitive, right? It becomes extremely cognitive with a heavy emphasis on becoming good decision makers. I'm working on the creation of space and time. This is where they learn the difference between the objective of soccer and what soccer is about, because those are two different things. I tell people all the time, the objective is to score goals, but what the game is about is the manipulation of space and time. And so this is where they start learning that in much, much greater detail, right? The personal focus, They start taking complete ownership of their own technical development at home. A heavier expectation on personal responsibilities. Things like, are you in the right uniform? Do you have your equipment, your shin guards? Are you wearing the right cleats? And your punctuality. I know you don't drive yourself to the game, so I rarely hold a kid responsible actually for tardiness, because 8-year-olds don't drive themselves to the games, right? And so, but if you're late, you're late. Are you running from the car to the field? Those kinds of things. So I want them taking some personal responsibility for themselves. You can see that we introduce phase of play at that level, right? So we start working on building out of the back a lot more. Possession in the final third. Transition becomes a big deal. It becomes a massive talking point. So we get into a much, much greater detail at the higher levels. And even at young age groups, we get into a much greater detail at the higher levels. That is our methodology, our training and development methodology. It's an overview. Coaches are allowed flexibility on what their training focus is. I don't say, hey, you need to be working on, playing in the gaps in between the lines today. I don't do that. I let coaches decide, what they feel the need is for their team. They're the coach. It's their team. It's their group, right? We do have a methodology on how we develop, utilizing positional play training and rondos and phase of play to develop the players and to develop their knowledge and understanding of the game. But for the most part, I let the coaches are responsible for the development of the players. Well, that's all I have on that. This one ran a little long because it's a little bit more in depth. I went way past the 10-minute mark from what I normally do. But once again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in comments. And I try to get to as much response as I can. I'm happy to talk to anybody about whatever, right? I'm pretty much an open book. Like I said, nothing we do is a secret. And I'm not trying to keep it a secret. There's no secret sauce to what we do. We just care a lot and we communicate real well. I think that's a big difference. I mean, if you communicate real well to the players, if you have the ability to communicate to the players, then you're going to be successful in whatever your goals are for player development. Thank you very much for listening. Keep on, where's it at? Keep on coaching. Take care.